Caligula Effect Overdose is the ground-up remake of a Persona-like that was destined to struggle when it released on the PS Vita in 2016, only a few months before Persona 5. Yeah, this game was set to fail the first time around. For the handful of people who played the original or watched the anime, this iteration allows you to play as a female protagonist, has new characters, new dungeons, and another ending. For all the weebs out there, it's basically Persona meets Angel Beats, but for everyone else, here's a plot summary. And hold on to your seat, this one's gonna be a bit wild. Our silent main character is at their high school opening ceremony, but notices some glitches in the Matrix and rightfully freaks out. You then bump into a kind stranger who headbutts you to calm down, even if you pick the female protag. This guy, right here, in that ascot, headbutts girls to calm them down. Okay, whatever. Turns out you're trapped in a fake world called Mobius that allows anyone who struggled in the real world to live their utopic high school life. The Vocaloid creator of this world, Mew, won't let anyone leave because that would undo the whole system and break the illusion. Therefore, her musicians, nice pun by the way game, brainwash everyone with J-pop to continuously relive a never-ending high school experience. If that doesn't sound like hell, I don't know what does. Along the way, you meet the co-creator of Mobius, Arya, who helps you out and unlocks edgy special powers to fight the brainwashed masses called Digiheads.
Why do you think it's okay to live and be wrong?
Your goal is to find Mew, have her send you back home regardless if it ruins the whole experience for everyone else, and finding her musicians are your only lead. Naturally, since you and your friends, the aptly named Go Home Club, again, nice pun, are numero uno on the brainwashing list. Whew, I know I just slammed you with a ton of information, but this is all dropped on you in the first hour or so. It's definitely a rocky start pacing-wise. It's a massive exposition dump along with 7 relevant characters introduced early on, so it's a bit overwhelming right off the bat. Granted, it does smooth out once you start exploring the game's dungeons, but a much slower start like the newer Personas would have benefited the narrative quite a bit. Just looking at the premise, high school setting, genre, and hell, even the art style, it's easy to draw a lot of comparisons to Persona. While it may be easy to dismiss the game as a subpar Persona clone, the writer for the first 3 Persona projects actually worked on Caligula Effect. Even the music was written by a former Megami Tensei composer, so the Atlas roots definitely run deep in this game. The story really is a late bloomer. It's a character-driven adventure, and each arc pits a Go Home Club member against a musician, and slowly learn about their traumas and why they're trapped in Mobius. Unfortunately, it still feels a bit rushed, as concepts and characters aren't expanded on as much as they should have been. It took up until I got to the new route exclusive to Overdose for me to fully get invested. After the first 3 dungeons, you have the option to join the musicians and act as a double agent. Not only do you learn more of the musician's backstory, but you also look at the whole goal of the Go Home Club in a different light. After that, I was loving the themes and commentary on utopia, responsibility, ruining other people's happiness for the sake of your own gain, and even wondering if some people are better off stuck in this fake world. It all started falling into place because you're looking critically at both sides, because you know you'll have to make an important decision much later on in the game. However, the newly added content can clash a bit with the vanilla existing story and at times feels extremely forced, which is a shame because the musicians are more interesting characters than the main cast, and the reason the alternate route is so engaging. Unfortunately, the dialogue is in really poor taste at times. If you're the type of person who loves to go on Reset Era and Tumblr, you will not like this game. I have pretty thick skin for this kind of stuff, and even I'm like, okay guys, slow your roll, you don't need to be the anime third string of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. On the gameplay side of things, it's a pretty standard JRPG dungeon crawler, but the unique elements come from the combat. It's a twist on basic turn-based gameplay with a heavy emphasis on timing. Moves have different startup and cooldowns, and you can string up to 3 actions at once. Before you select an action, you get a quick preview of what the outcome will be and what the enemy will do. This allows you to find an effective counter, and you can even sync up an effective strategy with the rest of your party. The end result is this Devil May Cry-like combo and juggles the crap out of enemies. It's incredibly rewarding when you pull off a crazy coordinated attack. Here's an example of the first boss getting absolutely destroyed. This feature also allows you to see hitboxes, which allows you to guard or just get out of the way. It's really refreshing in a JRPG when repositioning yourself in turn-based combat actually does something. it's definitely overpowered. The game tries to balance this by limiting how far you can see, and you can easily overcommit and be wide open for a large chunk of time. But again, it doesn't balance it nearly enough, and this brings me to the biggest problem with the combat. It is a breeze to get through most encounters. Normal mode is for babies, so I stuck with hard mode for most of my playthrough. Hard mode still is way too easy, with one major exception. That exception is multi-hit attacks are ridiculous. They do about twice as much damage on hard mode, and they already hit pretty hard to begin with. Even better is if they crit, every single hit is a critical on every single character that takes damage. So there are moments on hard mode when you blink and 3 of your party members get sent to the Shadow Realm with one attack. It's absolute bullshit, albeit I had some of the most fun moments trying to get out of those situations, but it still feels like a cheap game over at times. However, the game is still way too simplistic. Your health and SP fully recover after every battle, which takes the typical resource management challenge of the dungeon crawling genre out of the equation. Problem is, it doesn't replace it with anything else. You can grind individual enemies quite easily, so most of your battles will look like this. To be fair, most enemies might literally be blind, so sidestepping them isn't a problem. However, fighting higher level enemies lowers your accuracy quite a bit, to the point your attacks basically become a coin flip whether they hit or not if you're 7 levels below. And if that one move you needed to knock your enemy into the air misses, your whole strategy goes down the drain. Bosses are thankfully more challenging, but you can still wipe the floor with them using buffs and debuffs. The worst part of the game, though, has to be the side quests. You'll have to become superficial friends with NPCs that don't have any unique dialogue to become friends with other NPCs connected to them, ironically making it the most accurate representation of high school friendship in video games. To become friends with them, you have to talk to them 3 times. No big deal, right? Well, here's the kicker. There are over 500 of these bastards. So you see this waste of time diamond over 1,500 fucking times if you want to get 100% in this game. But once you're friends, at least you can accept their side quest. But also you can only accept 1 side quest at a time. Take my word for it, skip this part of the game. Overdose was built from the ground up on the Unreal 4 engine, and it doesn't look like it. Personally though, I would have preferred if they cleaned up some of the animations more than anything, because it can look kind of awkward and choppy at times. The music of this game, on the other hand, is the saving grace for the presentation. I'm not a fan of J-pop, at all, but there's enough variety to add life to the occasional tedious nature of dungeon crawling. Plus, the dynamic music makes the transition between battles pretty seamless. If you're looking for good tunes, Caligula Effect delivers in spades. Overdose is the kind of game that I can see becoming a cult classic that can gradually build up a following for a series. It does enough new things to keep the turn-based combat fresh, and has a great foundation for any sequels down the line. It has more than its fair share of flaws at almost every turn, but underneath it all you can make out a diamond in the rough that would really flourish given enough time and resources. If you didn't like it for the first time around, there's probably not enough here to change your mind. But if you're a newcomer and have a Persona itch and nothing else to play, this game should fit the bill. Caligula Effect Overdose gets a C. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching the video. A review code for this game was actually provided to me by NIS America on behalf of Bago Games. So if you prefer written reviews and are somehow seeing this for whatever reason, feel free to check out the written part of this over on their website. Link will be in the description. Anyway, I have another JRPG review coming up, and be sure to keep an eye for that one. Later.